Okay, so that's going. Um, yeah, what would be helpful? Like, what questions do you have for me, or where do you want to start with this?
Well, as I mentioned, I'm strongly considering the field of career coaching. So it's kind of cool going through the career pathfinding program because it's helping me get that clarity just on my own, but also it kind of it has a dual benefit in that I'm seeing how career coaches think and how you're
Mm-hmm.
helping guide us through the thought process. So it's been super helpful, and I'm very interested in it, but I definitely want to understand a little bit more about a day in the life of a career coach and just the industry in general. And anything that you have to share that would be helpful would be amazing. So I guess to start off with, do you mind just talking a little bit about your day to day and what your typical day looks like?
Sure. Yeah, right now, my typical day looks like more on the side of managing and running a business, and then also running the online course, the group coaching program, which is where I'm putting most of my sort of coaching focused energy into that. So, but this is like nearly 15 years into doing this work for me. So, what it looks like right now, that being more managerial, more running, more like creating systems, updating content, and um, leading calls for the online course, and making sure that all the systems are in place to support people like you that are in that program. Most of my time goes towards that. And then one day a week, I see clients that I've been working with for a while now in person at my office in San Francisco. Um, and I'm also not taking new clients in this moment because recently had a daughter, as we were talking about, and I don't have enough time to do all of it right now. So a lot of my time is spent either on the computer, tracking things and or creating content or building things, or checking in with different people on my team, or following up on like any of the emails or requests or questions or issues that I get from people in the online course or people on my team. Like I'm sort of doing a lot of dealing with things as they arise right now. Um, and I have a lot of flexibility. I don't work a 40-hour week right now. So on actually Wednesdays and Fridays, I'm not working. I'm spending most of that time with my daughter, which is amazing to have that flexibility. Totally amazing. And part of how that's been created has been developing the online course and the group program there such that my time is scalable. And then also in just over the years, spending a good amount of time and energy on marketing and networking such that, as well as just doing good work, such that now a lot of therapists and other coaches refer to me and to us at A Path That Fits. And then I have other various marketing channels that are bringing people to A Path That Fits. And that's allowed me to partner with a couple other coaches that are now available to see clients that I've brought onto the team. So yeah, some of my work is also still focusing on marketing strategies and learning more about marketing to make sure that we continue to get the word out about what we're doing. So that looks like creating content, trying to partner with certain people, keep my relationships with people, look into different online platforms like Google for advertising or Facebook and try different things there. So that's like today. I think it's also probably useful to go back and tell you, given where you're at and what you're thinking about, what my work looked like maybe like 3 or 4 years into career coaching, which was very different than it is now. That looked like seeing a lot of clients. I probably had an average of say 20 or so clients per week during that time. And most of my days were spent sitting with clients in person. I had some probably, 25% of the people over phone or a video chat platform that I was coaching. And then I was also still, even at that time, spending a lot of time, and always have been, researching coaching techniques, tools, methods. It's always been very interesting to me to learn, to keep learning different tools related to career coaching and just working with people in general. So I've taken a bunch of different training programs. I was constantly reading books, and then also studying what worked and didn't with clients, and developing different like coaching activities or programs, or finding assessments to use. And so a good part of my days, like when I wasn't seeing clients back then, I was learning about something or developing my own activities and content. And then even still then, trying to figure out marketing, which is, for most coaches that are in business for themselves, you don't have to be as a coach. You can also work for various organizations that employ coaches. Like there's things like Better Up, for example, or something I just heard about called Hire Club, and a variety of different like somewhat online based or tech sort of based platforms that are popping up that employ coaches part-time. So you could do that, but a lot of people are also running their own business as a coach, and marketing in the beginning especially is a huge part of your day, your work as a coach. It's like one part marketing, one part learning the skill of coaching, and then one part doing the actual work.
Yeah, I've done a lot of research so already, and I'm realizing that as well. Does marketing come naturally to you? And how do you feel about that side of it? Because that's obviously very different from the actual career coaching.
Yeah, I don't like the marketing side of it. I don't particularly enjoy it, and to have a mixed relationship with it, where I see the value and the need for it, and putting energy into that. I know is a part of what's helped grow my business. I don't know another way to do it. So I feel like I've been willing to put the time and energy into it because I really love the work of coaching. And I love designing programs and learning and continuing to refine a process that works for people. So the marketing feels like a necessary part of supporting those other things that I really love to do. But no, I don't love the marketing. I studied business undergrad, and feel like I have enough of a skill set in it to do it, and enough of just like a work ethic and willingness to do it. But it's the part of my work that is least enjoyable for me. It requires like the most like, okay, I'm really going to do this. I got to do this. Okay. And it takes a lot of time for me anyways. I don't know that it has to for everyone, but it takes a lot of time for me to do it in a way that I feel good about.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, my next question was going to be, and you might have already answered this, but my next question was, what would you say are the most challenging parts of the job? Is it that marketing side, or is there something else?
Marketing is definitely one of them. I've also found it, to varying degrees, and it depends a lot on the particular client that I'm working with, but the actual coaching can also be very challenging. Some people are really stuck and confused about what to do, or are in challenging circumstances, like maybe having a family to support, for example, and being the primary person that's doing that, and then also really not liking their work and wanting to find something new, but needing to make a certain salary, for example. And that can be a hard equation, to work with. And then other people will have a lot of doubt and fear and insecurity. I think that's almost a universal part of the process of anybody making a career change, but some people are faced with more of that. So it can be really challenging and take a lot of both skill and patience to work through someone through like big insecurities or big fears and doubts, especially when there's such a strong, or can be such a strong, programming in this culture to get a really good job, to be successful, to play it safe, to like, there's so much pressure to sort of perform and have your career look a certain way that when somebody starts to think about doing something that's an authentic expression of who they are, something that they are passionate about, something that uses their gifts, which is what I'm all about, it's sometimes a big shift in their identity, and people in their lives are not supportive. So that can be also really hard to work with. So the actual coaching can be all that to say, the actual coaching can be quite challenging.
Wow. Yeah. I guess I didn't really think about that, but that makes a lot of sense. So
Yeah.
what types of people would you say do well and enjoy career coaching?
I think people with a genuine desire to help other people that have, even prior to their discovery of career coaching, have found themselves in roles where they are listening and supporting and sort of counseling others, their friends, their family. It doesn't have to be formally at all, but the type of person that gets the call from a friend when they're stuck and not sure what to do, and likes doing that, likes to be that person. I think that's huge. What else? It's a career that I think requires one to be passionate about it. It's like, if you're a career coach and you're trying to help people in some way or another, either create more fulfillment in their work or find work they love, and you're not fulfilled or you're not loving your work as a coach, that's not going to work too well. There's too much incongruence there. So I think there really has to be a genuine passion and interest in careers, in how people evolve, themselves in their work, and how people choose a career, and how to, grow and make the most of it. And so I think that like a genuine interest there is also important. Said this a little bit in the first one, but certainly an ability to really empathize and listen and connect and relate to people. And then I think this isn't like a requirement, because as I was saying earlier, you can be a coach working for another organization that does the marketing and sort of brings the clients to you. But if you are thinking about going into business on your own, I think some amount of interest in, or savvy already in business, in things like marketing, are going to be helpful in getting your career launched.
Got it.
Yeah.
How did you get into it?
Yeah, I started my career as a management consultant out of college. That was the first job I got out of college. And I was really excited about getting the job. It was what I thought I wanted to do and had been planning and moving towards throughout college. So I was super excited for the job. When I actually found out what it was and I was doing the work, I hated it. It was very analytical. I was looking at a computer in Excel for 40 hours a week, and it didn't feel like it was using me. It felt like I didn't even know what my gifts were at the time. I hadn't done that reflection, but I could just feel like, this isn't using my gifts. This isn't using me. And so I quit, and had no idea what to do next. I was in, sort of an existential crisis, and I ended up traveling, and during those travels, doing a lot of reflection on who I was, or who I am, what I wanted in my life. And it was kind of like a haphazard version of guiding myself through the process that you've just gone through of, self-discovery, learning about your gifts and passions and personality. It was not that structured or well designed, but through that inquiry, through that soul searching, I realized what I've always done is help people find their way. That was sort of just without having to do anything or being assigned or a homework assignment or a job description. It was like what I always did was I ended up engaging in conversations and being receptive to people when they weren't sure what to do next or were going through a hard time, and I'd be like the guide helping them find their way. And that was a huge discovery for me, like really probably a life-changing discovery. It's not too dramatic to say that, because once I was clear on that being like at the essence of me, I then realized, oh, well, I want to do this. I want to be that. I want something that allows me to be who I am and do what I naturally do. And so I came back from my travels and started looking at how can I help people find their way? What career will allow me to do that? So I came up with whatever ideas I had about careers. I think it was like be a therapist or a counselor of some type, a teacher, like in a classroom. I was into Vipassana meditation at the time, so I was thinking about potentially training in that, human resources. And so I just started exploring those careers and talking to people in the different fields. And I didn't even know about coaching actually until I think my mom mentioned it at one point. And she's a therapist, so she had more insight into related careers. And I really didn't, the term life coach sounded awful to me. I remember thinking like, I don't want a life coach for myself. I don't want to be a life coach. Like, I don't like that term. It doesn't sound right. And it still doesn't to me. It doesn't resonate with me. I don't have as much charge around it now, but anyways, I got past that. And because I also felt like, oh, that's an interesting in between, not a therapist, not a teacher, not an HR, like something, it just felt different, and I was excited about it. So I ended up taking a training the first weekend of CTI, the Coaches Training Institute, actually, because I had a coaching session. I started seeing a coach to try to explore it, and I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do next. So it was also beneficial to see a coach, and the coach challenged me to sign up for the first weekend just to test it out. And so I did that, and I liked it, and I just continued from there.
And why did you pick career coaching specifically?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's a really good question because I always advocate that somebody going into coaching, or really any field, find a niche and specialize in that. It becomes much easier to build a successful career, typically, like when you have a specialty and you found a niche where your particular interests and passions and gifts meet a specific need in the market. Because then you can design programs and build your expertise in that direction, and applies to any field, but especially with coaching. And I guess I got there, it was sort of already embedded in the discovery about myself that I had made that led me to coaching. So this discovery, like, I've always helped people find their way. But I guess I could do that. It wouldn't have to be helping people find their way in career. So there was, as I was doing coaching, I was starting just seeing different clients. I guess career was always the issue or the topic that was most interesting to me when a client would bring it up. Because in the beginning of coaching, I was a life coach, and when I would get a new client, most of my new clients at the time were like friends of friends or friends of family members, as I was just getting started. And I would ask them, okay, what are your goals? What do you want to work on? And I always remember finding the most flow and being most excited when I was talking to somebody about what they wanted to do. in their career. And I can also remember formally putting together a survey about, it was maybe 6 months or a year into being a coach. And I wanted to know what people were most motivated to hire a coach to help with. So I put together this survey. I asked friends, family, basically anyone I knew at that time that was in my circle of contacts. I asked them to complete this survey, which was, basically getting at the question, what areas of your life, are most challenging for you right now? What areas of your life are you most willing to invest time and money in improving? And, what areas of your life would you most be interested in seeking the help of a coach to address? Questions like this. And I remember people came back, their responses were career and relationships were like the two areas that people were most motivated and willing to pay a coach to help them with. And that was validating for me of my existing interest in career coaching. So I invested more fully in that. And I remember also, and this is, I think, a great piece of advice as you're thinking about coaching, but also if you do choose to go into coaching, the time in the arc of my business where I went from sort of like, I would say, trying to have a career as a coach, just to say I'd gone through the certification program, I'd been certified, but I was trying to figure out how to market myself and trying to get a practice going. And once I started to specialize in career coaching, helping people find meaningful work, I was able to build a process around it, which has evolved into the process that you've just gone through in the online course. And building that process, having specific activities and a series of steps to take people from, I don't know what to do, I'm unfulfilled in my work, I don't know what to do next, to ultimately clear about what is the right career and confident in their ability to pursue it. Having that process enabled me to, I think, speak about and communicate what I was doing as a coach in a much more compelling way, and then also to specifically target those people that were a good fit for the process in my marketing. And when those two things came together, like having that niche and having that process, that's where I started to get more clients. Marketing became easier. I could charge more. I felt more confident in what I was doing. Everything just started clicking from that time of discovering my niche and building a program that helped people get the outcome that I wanted and they wanted.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, that's super clear. Cool. I have a few more questions, but I want to be mindful of time. I don't know how much time.
Yeah, no, I have more time actually. I don't have anything right now between 2:30 and 3.
Awesome, thank you. What would you say is the typical, I know that to me, career coaching seems a little bit of a non-traditional career path, but how would you describe a career trajectory in career coaching?
Like what happens once you are a coach? What options are available once you're a career coach? Yeah. Well, a couple things come to mind. I guess one slightly related, but I'm not directly answering your question, but a related career to career coaching is career counseling. So that's also just worth naming and noting, and that involves getting a master's degree. And some people choose to do that because of the additional training provided. And then I think also one other related career worth mentioning is organizational development. There's a lot that happens in it's a broad field, but part of what organizational development can address are things like developing coaching programs within an organization. So it's less focused on just working with individuals like a career coach would, and more focused in building programs to run within companies that then help the individuals in the company. So that's related. There's employee engagement and HR as well. But anyways, I'll stop there. I would say so career coaching, it could look like you run your own business and probably develop a specialty in one aspect or many over the course of decades of career coaching. So I've chosen to focus on people that aren't sure what career is right for them, that are unfulfilled with their work. They want to make a change. They just don't know, like, what am I meant to do? What's the right career path for me? I've decided to focus on that niche because it's what's fascinating to me. Honestly, that is just like an endlessly fascinating question for me. But other career coaches might specialize in, say, the job search process. So they don't want to work with you, or maybe they just aren't as specialized in the question of like career direction. They want to work with you once that you know what you want, and they are going to help you with your personal branding, your pitch, your how you tell your story, your resume, your cover letter, networking, interviewing, all that stuff. So I would say one thing is just to do career coaching, but to continually sort of listen for where do you want your specialty to be, and then to get good at that. And then it can then look like you write a book, or you start leading trainings or presentations. I have a friend, her name is Jenny Blake. She's a great career coach, and somebody that I think has designed and developed for herself a very interesting and fulfilling career. And I've seen her develop from career coach to author, and she's still a career coach as she's an author. But she's built out a company where now she has coaches that are using her method that she's written about in her book, Pivot, which is a cool book. And now she's also doing trainings for organizations. So she's using her method and licensing it to organizations to train their employees. So that's an example, right, of one career progression. She started out as a career coach, wrote a book, and then started partnering with organizations. I also see other career coaches will maybe do something like what I've done, which is to create a program. So not just one-on-one coaching work, but create a program that could be virtual, like what I've done with the Career Pathfinder coaching program that you're in, which is guiding people through a series of different activities and steps in a virtual setting, in a group setting, to scale their time and impact, and also just make coaching more accessible to people that wouldn't be able to pay or wouldn't want to pay for one-on-one coaching. And then it sort of transforms into more of you're running a business. You're not just coach with one person in front of you, but you're running a business. Seen other people evolve into like leadership development and organizational development work. So they're working with leaders or with managers inside of companies, providing trainings on everything from how to manage a team effectively to how to have challenging conversations. There's lots of sort of specialties within that. And then I've also seen that some coaches will run their own business for a couple of years and maybe realize they don't like running the business. They're not that excited about or great at doing the marketing, and they find another coaching firm or a bigger platform like BetterUp to work for, or even go to work within a company that has a learning and training or people development department that's big enough such that they're hiring coaches into it. So that would be another potential avenue.
Okay, interesting. So you have seen companies that have just direct coaches. Like, could a company have an actual career coach that's employed by them and coaches their employees on next steps in their career? Have you seen that?
Yeah, I have seen that. That was what Jenny Blake was doing. She worked at Google. She then went on to write a couple books and, build this practice business, not a practice business that I was just describing. So that is possible. I would imagine it'll be more and more common because coaching is it's already widely accepted and seems to becoming, increasingly desired by organizations. But I guess I don't have like exact data on this, but I don't think that type of in-house coaching position is as common or as widely, as numerous as, say, platforms like BetterUp or Inside Track that are employing coaches, and then those platforms contract with organizations, and you as a BetterUp coach then gets assigned to work with a few employees at Microsoft, for example.
Okay, that makes sense. I actually I have a friend that works at BetterUp, and so I had an information
cool.
for last week.
Yeah,
and that was super interesting too. I learned a lot about what they're doing. It seems like a really cool platform.
Yeah. All the coaches that I know and I've talked to there have spoken really highly about what it's like to work for them.
Oh, that's good to know. Awesome.
Yeah.
My friend is in-house in recruiting, so it's a little bit different.
I see.
But she was able to give me some information a lot of the information she gave me was still super helpful. So
yeah,
that's good to know that coaches feel good about it as well.
Yeah.
That kind of leads me to my next question. What would you say are the biggest needs in the market and the hottest trends right now in career coaching?
That's a good question. I think one of the trends with career coaching is just that there's always some demand for it, whether the economy's great or the economy's terrible. There's always some need for career coaching. The economy's great and people want to get better and better jobs, and they have the money to invest in coaching to help them level up in their careers. And when the economy is not good, people are very acutely in need of help finding work. So I would say the most in demand niche within career coaching, I think, is helping people get a job. So things like personal branding, elevator pitch, resume, cover letter, networking, interviewing, all that stuff is going to almost always have a strong demand. And I think there is also an increasing trend that people are looking for that sort of shorter term engagement with a coach to help them get a job. And it seems like maybe there's a little bit less interest from people in doing a longer, deeper exploration of what's my true calling. And I think instead, we work with people, 3 months is like a minimum. We don't offer any packages shorter than that because we want to do the deeper work with people to really discover what their calling is and make sure that we've accurately done that, been thorough in that discovery process. And a lot of people will say, no, I'm looking for a faster turnaround than that. I think I know what I want to do. I don't want to do a big, long discovery. I just want help getting a little bit of clarity and then getting into action to get the job. So that's a trend that I've seen. And then I think there is also a trend toward platforms like BetterUp. Inside Track has been around for a while. They do coaching with college students. But these platforms are starting to pop up more and more that contract with organizations, companies, or schools, and then have a set sort of curriculum and a method that they use, and then they contract with coaches like you or like me to do the one-on-one work. So it seems like that keeps more, I keep hearing of more and more platforms that are trying to do that, which, BetterUp wasn't around like 5 years ago. And there's a new thing I heard called Hire Club, something kind of similar called The Muse, which is an excellent career website. And they have a platform in which people can hire coaches that aren't employed by the Muse, but the Muse is contracting with them to provide those services. So they pay their coaches a percentage and they keep a percentage. And a lot of those packages that the Muse is selling are for like individual sessions. So it's fast. A lot of it is focused on getting the job, not this like bigger picture, what do I really want to be doing with my life exploration. And then I think the other like final trend I see is the programs, like what I've created, online courses, virtual group programs, like these are becoming more and more a trend.
Okay. Of those that you mentioned, or just different areas of career coaching in general, which would you say would be the most lucrative areas to get into, or the most lucrative strategies? Like what?
Yeah, I think I can say like working with individuals is it's like you have to do really well or get quite big in order for that to be lucrative. Or to make multiple six figures working with individuals requires a really solid practice, business, or a big name and reputation. So I would say what are the most lucrative niches would be working with organizations. So something in the realm of say, like leadership development or career coaching within organizations, like potentially partnering with an organization to develop out a training and development platform or program for them. Anything where you're working with an organization or multiple, where you can have like either your one client is the organization, or you work directly for them, or you have a couple clients that are organizations, you're likely to be able to charge a lot more for that kind of work. And then definitely working with like leaders and executives, you can charge more money than working with, somebody like the population of people that I work with that are anywhere from, mid-20s usually to mid-40s and have done well, but are paying for the coaching services themselves.
Right. That makes sense. Do you feel like someone that is mainly just doing one-on-one coaching sessions, which I imagine would be a career coach kind of getting started, is that sustainable, the amount of money that you can make? Okay.
Definitely. Yeah. Like I support my family with, this business, and I don't make a ton of money, but I make, a good amount for myself and enough. And I live in, Berkeley, and it's taken a while to get here, but also as a single person, I think it took me maybe like 2 or 3 years. I was working part-time jobs as I was getting my coaching business going, because I wasn't making enough from coaching directly to support myself. So I'd have these part-time jobs, and like I was working for a coach as his assistant, which was an amazing way to learn. I was doing some mentoring work for a nonprofit, which was also great because it was related. And yeah, maybe somewhere around like 2 years or so, I was able to stop working those part-time jobs because I was making enough from coaching to support myself. And then it grew from there. So definitely possible, and possible, in this niche that I've been in, that sounds like you're thinking of being in, of working with individuals that want help figuring something out there with their career, anywhere from I don't know what to do next to I want to get to the next level in my current career. I want to make a pivot within my field, all the way to like I just need help with getting a job. Help me with that. Definitely possible to make a living, to support yourself in San Francisco, and I wouldn't expect that in year one. I would give yourself a couple of years to build up to that. And yeah, if you're thinking about like really where is the most lucrative niche in career coaching, which isn't necessarily the best way to make a decision about what niche you pursue and how you build your career by any means, but I would say the leadership coaching development or working with organizations.
Yeah, that makes sense. I've heard that from other sources as well too.
Yeah.
And that's not, yeah, I mean, I think that's super important to know is, just being able to support yourself and make enough money, but that's definitely not my main motivation by any means. So you you mentioned volunteer, or you mentioned working with a nonprofit. I don't know if it was volunteer or not, but I'm also looking into volunteer opportunities to do similar things like resume help, interview prep. Do you have any recommendations for organizations like that in the Bay Area? Like maybe for underprivileged youth, someone that can't afford a career.
Yeah. I don't offhand.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I've heard of organizations and they're just not coming to mind now. So if I can think of them, I'll send you an email with those links. But
that would be great.
But that is a great way to get experience for sure.
Yeah, I even did a Google search and I was able to find some, but I wasn't. Okay. If you know of any that you would recommend, I'd love recommendations just so that I'm going in the right direction. But otherwise, I can definitely find stuff on Google.
Yeah.
What about any other professional organizations, networking events or groups? I've tried searching for that, and I haven't been able to find as much there. Do you have any recommendations there?
Yeah, that's a great question. One of the groups that this is like 15 years ago now that was helpful for me, where I got connected to the coach that I worked for, who then also became my mentor, was hugely valuable in helping accelerate the growth of my business. That was called, at the time it was called SF Coaches. I think it's now Bay Area Coaches. If you Google that, you can probably find your way. I'm not sure like what type, population, demographic of coaches are going to that right now. I think I remember when I was there, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I think most, like I was the youngest person there by far. So at times it felt like I wasn't with peers exactly. But then the flip side of that was like I really learned a lot from the people who had been doing it for longer. But I guess I say that because I imagine that somewhere there is there's so many people now, younger people getting into coaching, that I imagine there's got to be somewhere where all those people are getting together. And it could be at that professional association, but I definitely think that's worth checking out. You can go to a meeting for free. I think they meet once a month somewhere in San Francisco. So that would be a place to check out. The other conference that I went to was through the ICF, the International Coach Federation. And they are the only that I know of independent governing body of the coaching profession. So they have certifications that are independent from the coaching schools that have certifications. And as such, the ICF has sort of been established themselves as the governing body of the coaching profession. And they have a tremendous amount of resources if you become a member there. Like they have a variety of different, I think, groups that meet virtually, depending on what areas of coaching you're interested in. So that could be a good website to check out and look through and see, what groups are meeting that feel relevant to you and the work that you want to do and your passions. And then I feel like there was one other thing that I was involved in. Oh yeah, depending on what school you choose, if you do decide to go in this direction, I think getting some training would be a great next step. Even in testing the waters further, like I talk about the test drive in the Career Pathfinder coaching program, like you're doing all the right things by having these informational interviews with people. And at a certain point, you may just feel like, okay, I just need to try this in order to figure out if it's right for me. And volunteering is one great way to do that. And then also just sort of going to the first session of a training program, or even like a weekend workshop in a coaching program. Great way to test the waters. And also those schools then usually have a network of like a community that exists as a part of that school, both the people that you go through your specific like cohort of training with, as well as just access to the larger pool of like groups and resources that meet within it. Like CTI, where I went, has, I don't know how many tens of thousands of people have taken that training. I mean, there's a lot of people and a well-established network and community that you can tap in through that education. And then also like Facebook groups and LinkedIn groups, I think are another really good way to connect with people and hear like, what is the conversation that's happening in the, career coaching group on LinkedIn or Facebook, or maybe there's one about job search coaching and how is that different from like the executive coaching group, and which one do I resonate more with? And okay, I don't resonate with either of them. Like what's missing, and look for that. But joining those groups online, even if you don't ever write a comment, it's just great to see like, what is the conversation that's happening, and does it engage me, and does this feel like my niche or not?
That's a great idea. I didn't even think about LinkedIn groups or Facebook groups. I'll
Yeah.
definitely search those. That's a really great idea. I've been looking also at certifications, and I know you and I have talked about CTI,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm definitely strongly considering that. I also, that is certainly a large investment.
Yes.
I was thinking about maybe before I take the plunge there, I think I will probably just try it out for the first session, as you suggested. I'm also thinking, other certifications that would be helpful that wouldn't be as large of an investment would be a resume writing certification.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any thoughts on those? I've heard mixed opinions on whether they're worth it or not.
I don't know. I haven't taken any resume specific certification.
Mm-hmm.
What I've learned there, I've learned by working with clients, by talking to recruiters that look at resumes, reading, tons of books and blogs and articles and so on and so forth. So I don't know what those trainings actually look like, but I think it's a good idea if, it's several $100s instead of several $1,000s, then that's something that will probably both give you a new set of skills that you didn't have before that you can then use in career coaching, as well as will provide a way for you to just like learn more about the profession and what it's like to be doing the actual work. If you hated it, also, I wouldn't say that means career coaching as a profession is not the right fit, but just specifically resume writing, isn't the right fit, because what a resume writer does is going to be, different, let's say, than what somebody that's doing executive coaching does.
Right. Yeah, I think I was just thinking maybe that would be a good way to sort of ease into it. And I could once I'm certified in resume writing, I could do that on the side and start to bring some cash in as
I think that's a great idea.
for coaching. Okay, cool.
I think it's a really good idea.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Sweet. And is there anyone else that you might recommend that would be helpful to talk to about career coaching?
I don't know. I would recommend, I mean, the people that come to mind are other coaches at A Path That Fits. And yet the only reason I don't recommend that is because you've just talked to me. So you've gotten sort of probably a pretty similar view on what coaching is about. So I guess I'm more inclined to say I think it'd be interesting for you to talk to somebody who's doing career coaching in a different niche, like a job search coach or a resume writer, for example, since you brought that up. So yeah, what you could do to find that person, is just do some Google searches for local resume writers, or the Muse has a great database of coaches, and you can find their names and then do a Google search. And usually they all have their own separate businesses that they're running. So you could reach out separately from the Muse as a platform and contact them and express your interest. So I would say that, like, finding somebody who's doing resume writing and then they are in that job search umbrella because you're considering that would probably be a great interview for you. I guess my question back to you would be, like, what is the niche that you're most drawn to, if you know it yet, in career coaching?
Yeah, I think to start with, because I come from a recruiting background, I think I'd feel most comfortable with the job search arena, with the resume prep, with the interview prep, negotiations, all of that, just because I'm already somewhat familiar with that field. But I think I would, down the line would want to explore other or build on that and maybe broaden my horizons, or maybe move into a different niche if I enjoy coaching as much as I think I will. So I feel like I'd rather start somewhere where I'm most comfortable and most familiar, and then maybe see where it takes me.
Yeah. That sounds great. Given, I forgot about that, your background in recruiting, like doing resume writing and job search coaching, you could probably do that tomorrow if you wanted to or needed to, given it's a part of what you already do as a recruiter. So you're sort of just like taking one part of what your job is and saying, okay, I'm going to do that like full time. Now I'm going to be that. So that's an excellent way for you to get started, and to, like I was saying, that is high in demand, that niche. So I think probably easier than some other niches within career coaching to get some traction and build a business in that. So that would be a great place to start, and getting some formal training in resume writing or some certification there sounds like a really good way to both like learn and prepare yourself, and also be even more hireable for prospective clients. So that sounds like a great next step for you. Anyways, I'm also thinking about training, and in addition to CTI, I've heard a lot of people choosing to go through and enjoying IPEC, IPEC. I think it's Institute for Professional Excellence in Coaching. I think they're out of Sacramento. People seem to like that program as well. And then there's also one called New Ventures West in San Francisco, but I think that's even more of an investment in terms of time and money than CTI.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, I think you mentioned those to me once before as well.
Yeah.
Great. I want to just make one comment, just because I know this is being recorded, in case it's helpful for anyone else. I've also been listening to a lot of podcasts, and I found a podcast that's, I don't know if you've heard of it. It's literally called How to Become a Career Coach, and Scott Anthony Barlow I
have heard of him. Yeah.
So I was listening to another one of his podcasts. I forget the name of it, but he also has a podcast called How to Become a Career Coach, where every episode he interviews a different career coach, and interviews how they got started, and the things they like, things that their challenges are. So basically an informational interview. I've found it to be extremely helpful, so I highly recommend that. And then I wish I could remember the name of the other podcast, but yeah, Scott Anthony Barlow, just throw that name out there again. I think he has some great podcasts, and there's others out there as well that I've found to be really useful.
Yeah. That sounds perfect. How to
Yeah.
become a career coach. That's
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
Yeah,
Take a different
exactly.
informational interview every session.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Well,
Thank you.
yeah. I know it's been a while.
Yeah. I should go.
Thank you so much. This was extremely helpful. I really appreciate all the insight.
Yeah. You asked great questions.
Thank you. I got a lot of them from career planning program.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you for recording it as well. Hopefully it's helpful to the other people that are listening. So
I hope so. Thanks so much. Really appreciate
it. My pleasure. Yeah. Let me know how it all unfolds.
Yeah, I'll definitely keep you
curious.
posted for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Bye,
Take
Emily.
care. Have a good afternoon.
You too.
Bye.